you're a parent, and you wrote a book about your relationship with Laird, your other half, who's doing other things in the spotlight like you are. Let's talk about, being married like that to someone who, in many ways seems like you're equal, but also you're very different people.
Yeah.
Talk about how you've made that a successful relationship.
Well, I think it first comes to, and maybe we grew into this, I think at first, it was sort of a lot of chemistry and mutual respect, and I think intuitively I've always been drawn to Laird in the way that, hey, that's my guy. Like, I just knew it, and I hadn't really experienced it at that level before. And so, and then as you go, you have to learn to dance a little bit. They don't teach you how to dance. And
what do you mean by that?
Just communication, healthy conflict, and
You talk about compromise at all?
well, of course, all relationships of any kind are a compromise of sorts. But I think, something that Laird and I both naturally do, and Laird may be easier, and I'll say it outright, and I'm comfortable saying it. I think men naturally do it easier. Women have to learn is I have to be responsible for my own happiness. And I think men sort of are like, yeah, of course, like that's what you do, right? Like I'm going to go play basketball with the boys on the weekend because it's fun. And I think women, we have a harder time with that because it feels selfish, especially if you start adding children. We don't play as much when we're little, right? So boys, like even when they become men, they know how to play and have fun and sort of take care of that part of themselves. And so I think,
well, we compartmentalize really well. We can put certain
Yes.
things, right? There's not a lot of blend.
all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a woman, that's an interesting, landscape that can be tricky to navigate. But I think I've always been pretty good at understanding, and this also probably stems from my childhood, that I wouldn't rely on someone else to make me happy. I will figure that out for myself. And I think I met Laird at 25, so I was already well into my professional career as an athlete, and I had gained a level of notoriety in that pretend, sort of world, and that probably made it easier because I had what one would perceive as an identity, and which I think is a really important word. Because if you say to me, hey, 20-something years later, now I'm always wrestling down the identity and trying to stay in the individuality. Mm-hmm. What do I really want? What really makes me happy? Not how do I feed the identity and the expectation of what the identity is. So that lesson comes even later, right? So I had my own identity, but I think for Laird and I, how we navigate it is we are really different. But somehow our values are pretty similar. And so we don't have a tremendous, kind of issues on how we feel about treating people, money, just, even parenting. I think our values are pretty lined up naturally. And again, this goes partially to growing up on islands and being, tethered to humility. In Hawaii, humility is coveted. In the Caribbean, you actually never think about being someone. So you're not really attached to that. Like you never think like, oh, I'm important or I'm someone. You're just like, yeah, no, this is just sort of my job. And I understood very early. I mean, I met Laird by interviewing him for a television show. Was surfing and this, even though it's his job, it's something that's a part of him and it fulfills him and it makes him who he is. And so I have only been supportive of Laird surfing, always. And I think that's something really important because what happens is if you are with somebody who has something they love so much and they're so good at it, if you don't have those types of things in your own life, and listen, I love my children more than anything, and I love being Laird's wife, but if you don't have your own thing, you could either grow to resent that, you could be threatened by that, there could be a myriad of responses versus, okay, I'm so happy for that person, they found this thing, and they have a skill set.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah, so what is that for you? And I would assume that it gets reciprocated on the other side, that Laird gives you that respect. So what is that for you?
It's not as easy. It wasn't as easy for Laird, though, when we were younger, because in a way, I've always said, listen, he was way better at surfing than I ever was at volleyball. Like, it's a different universe. You're talking about a different universe. However, I was more known.
Yeah. Well, it is a solo sport. Come on. Surfing.
Yes, but he is pretty masterful.
Yeah.
I was really good at volleyball. He's masterful.
He's an icon.
Well,
We can say that.
aside from that, it's just his relationship with it is it's layered and it's in depth, and I know it because I live with him. But I think for me, what was hard in the beginning is I was actually more known. So it was the outside world put stress on our union, because if, let's say, even the economics, if I made more or what have you. So we danced through that a little bit, and then...
did you keep finances separate, or did you do joint checking
When we
account?
were married, we had things together. I think my accountant made me get a prenup, though, because I was married at 27. And Laird was like, yeah, of course, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
That was uncomfortable for me.
And you didn't take on his name?
No, that's an interesting thing. I never thought I was more married because I took on Laird's name.
But you had, to your credit, you had an established identity, personality. You were already a thing.
Yeah.
So it probably didn't make sense to confuse your audience.
Yeah, and it just seemed long, and I felt like and also maybe it was some weird thing with my dad being gone. Like, Reece was who I am. But I always say to Laird, like, I couldn't be any more, married to you than I am.
Yeah.
And if a name, and he was cool, but every once in a while we go someplace. My favorite is they go, okay, Mr. Reece, and he's like, perfect,
Well, a name. What's in a name, right? Shakespeare said that, and just like wearing a ring too, it's an outward symbol of an inward expression, right?
That's
So,
it.
yeah.
But I think it was work related, and maybe that was a subconscious thing too of me realizing I was marrying a very strong person, that I was sort of, holding real estate of my own, and not, kind of selfishly, but just understanding that felt probably important. Because Laird could, eat you alive. He's pretty dynamic and dominating and his own thing. And, if you're not careful, you could get swept up. Yeah. And so I think I understood that. I mean, that's what I love about him. But I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be important for me to...
Well, and I know you guys a little bit, but I think that's probably one of the things he loves about you, too, is that you're a very strong personality. And from what I know and what you've told me, even off camera, basically you run the show. I mean, you're very buttoned up and you've got it all together. And
I have
he's
nothing
amazing.
together, buddy. Nothing.
Yeah.
But I do run the show.
Yeah.
He's smart.
Yeah, well, you're both smart.
No, I'm saying he's like, oh, yeah.
Right. He recognizes your strengths.
Oh, and he'll say to me, are you on that phone? Are you doing emails? I'm like, yeah, and 50% of them are yours. Like, he'll say, oh, send me the schematics of a board or a fin or a shape. And then he'll tell the guy, email it to me, and it's my email. I'm like, uh-huh. Yeah. Who's the dummy here?
Yeah, well, no, I think to your credit, that's why both of you are so successful, is because you understand, you have that yin and yang thing going, and you understand each other, the dynamic, what you're both good at.